Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good day to all. My name is Muhammad Amirul Hadi bin Mat Ali. I'm currently studying in Diploma Occupational Safety and Health from Ranaco Education and Training Institute. Today, I'm going to share with you about several interesting topics in basic psychology. So, let's go! Today's topic are Erikson model theory, motivation theory, definition of forgetting, and ways to improve memory. Erikson theory model. This is Erikson theory model. There are 8 stages of psychosocial development. It started with infancy stage, next toddler, preschool, elementary school, adolescent, young adulthood, middle adulthood, and lastly it ends with late adulthood. Erikson theory of models. This model was created by Erik Erikson, a psychologist that specialized in child psychoanalysis, and his best and well-known theory of psychosocial environment. In this theory, Erikson explained that humans have 8 stages of development, whereas each stage builds on top of each other. In addition, each stage of development has its own crises and problems. Those who manage to overcome the crisis will eventually succeed and find closure in life, while those who did not manage to overcome the crisis will eventually depressed and stagnant in certain aspects of their life. Besides, according to Erikson, by successfully resolve the crisis, a person will develop a strong character trait that will eventually become a healthy, confident, and successful people. Although Erikson theory gives us the view of human development through stage, like other theory, this theory also has its own loophole and flaws. This theory does not teach us on how to overcome every crisis in the stages, and it also did not describe how exactly the crises are resolved. Neither does it explain these details on how we can move from one stage to another stage. Regardless of its flaw, one thing can be sure is that we have the power to control our choice as a parent, caregiver, student, or as an individual. Choosing the best decision might lead to a better life journey, and even if we choose wrongly, we always have a chance to remake and rebuild our life. To begin with the theory, Erikson theory has 8 stages of human development, and each stage are unique in its own way. It started off with infancy stage, which is from 0 to 1 years old. In this stage, the infant started to develop the trust to the caregiver, such as parent. If the caregiver provided enough love, care, support, and affection, the infant will know that they can depend on their caregivers. Then they will feel comfortable, safe, and secure. If the caregiver did not provide enough affection, it will lead to mistrust of infant to the caregivers. The next stage is toddler stage, whereas it starts from age 2 to 3 years old. In this stage, the toddler will start to develop their motor skills, and they will start to take control of their bodily functions such as walking, crawling, standing, and eventually start toilet training. If the toddler manages to come through this stage successfully, they'll start to have self-confidence inside themselves and a feeling of independency or autonomy. But if the toddler did not given the chance to assert themselves, they will have self-doubt and inadequacy because the caregiver always do everything for them. The next stage is preschool, and it is between 3 to 5 years old. During this stage, children start to interact with other children, and they learn that they can take initiative and take control of what happened. They are eager to know and to learn, thus, a lot of questions will be asked and caregiver should play a good role in giving answers and explanation. During this stage, caregivers should let their children explore the world within the limit they had set. If the caregiver did not support the children and over-controlling them, the children may lack in ambition and be filled with guilt. Overpowering with guiltness will make the children feel shy, self-doubt, and do not want to interact with the other children. The next stage is elementary school. It is between the age of 6 to 11 years old. During this stage, children will develop new skills and meet with new people. They will have teachers, they will have friends, and during this stage, they will most likely to go to school. At school, if the children succeed in certain areas, for example sport, they will feel accomplished and industrious. They believe in themselves and they will start to set their own goals. If they fail or did not feel accomplished, they will feel inferior, down, and start to comparing themselves with the other children. Next stage is adolescent stage. It is between the age of 12 to 18 years old. During this stage, teens start to face challenge in developing a sense of self. They start to form their own identity by questioning their beliefs, goals, and values. Caregivers play a vital role during this psychosocial stage by giving the support and encouragement to the teen. Teens that successfully go through this stage will come out with strong personality and control of themselves. If they fail, they might not get a clear picture of their future and weak sense of control. Next stage is young adulthood. It is between the age of 19 to 40 years old. During this stage, if the adult come from a strong personality and sense of self, they are ready to share their life with the others. They start to invest and give commitment to others, and during this stage, the challenge for the adult is to find a safe and comfortable long-term relationship. If the adult successfully come through this stage, they will have a safe relationship filled with love and commitment. If the adult has a weaker personality and sense of self, they will have problem in giving commitment to the others, which will result to a failed relationship. Thus, they might feel lonely and depressed. Next is middle adulthood, which is between the age of 40 and 65 years old. And during this stage, the adult feels the need of contributing themselves to the others. In home, by raising the children, while in society, they contribute to the communities and the workplace. Adults that succeed in this stage will feel competent and satisfied as they know that they are needed. Without this positivity feeling, they will experience stagnation, in which they are frustrated that they had failed in raising their family and did not contributing enough to the communities. Thus, they will feel unmotivated and they will not invest themselves in the productivity. Lastly is maturity stage, which is between the age of 65 to death. This last stage is the stage of reflection, whereas they will look back in their life and see what they had achieved. Adults that had achieved a lot of success and proud of their life, they will feel satisfied and relieved. While adults who live their life with the feeling of incomplete, they will experience dissatisfaction and regrets. And lastly, they will seek a closure so that they can feel complete and they had lived the life to the fullest. Instinct theory of motivation. Instinct theory of motivation is a natural genetically behavior that inherited generation after generation. It is not learned or gained by experience. This instinct theory of motivation is first written by Professor William McDougall. He believed that instinctive behavior is composed of three essential elements, which are perception, behavior, and emotion. This biological or genetically programming is the result of survival in species. For humans, it means success. For example, A human mother will always take care of her baby regardless of how she is. Or another example is the migration of birds before the winter. These instinctual behavior are not learned, but it is an instinct and inherited through generation. And these behavior patterns are the main contribution to survivability of species and human race. Thus, it is why these behaviors are passed on and constantly repeated through many generations. In addition, a person who are genetically good inherited it from his genes. They are tending to do good and the behavior will bring positivity to others. These kind of people are driven to do good because seeing others makes them happy. It is a success for them. Thus, they have this kind of satisfaction when they help others and seeing them happy. They usually do good for positive effects and they believe that it will drive them to success by doing good deeds to the others.
Drive theory of motivation.
Drive theory of motivation is first found by Clark L. Hull. Drive theory of motivation is firstly found by Clark L. Hull and his students through experiment on rat behavior. In the experiment, a bunch of rats were put in a box with several paths cut out to the food. In the studies show that the hungriest rat is the first one to reach the food and the less hungry rats reach the food much later time. Based on this experiment, we believe and we can relate that a person or animal that have a goal to reach are more likely to feel motivated than the others. Based on the psychologists, they conclude that these theories are divided into two groups, which are primary and secondary group. For the primary group, much more related to the survivability needs of food, drinks, mates, and etc. While the second group, the goals are culturally determined and learned, such as to obtain money, intimacy, happiness, and so on. In social psychology, drive theory is also known as homeostatic theory or drive reduction theory. For this theory, people are motivated to do something and take action to reduce the internal tension or unpleasant feelings. This theory takes the concept of homeostasis, whereas our body are working constantly to maintain their normal state. This theory can be explained through several behaviors such as hunger or stomach ache. For example, a people experience stomach ache will be motivated to do what necessary to remove the negative urges.
Incentive theory of motivation.
Incentive theory of motivation is explained that people behavior is motivated by a drive for incentive and reinforcement. It is also suggests that people behave for rewards and to avoid action that might lead to punishment. For example, students are attending class because they wanted to pass the exam with flying colors and also to avoid detention from skipping class. The value of incentive is subjective and it depends on the time and circumstance. These people may have different perception of the incentive and different people may value the incentive differently. Psychologists believe that throughout the life of a person they will have a lot of goals and each goal will give them a motivational factor differently to the person. In addition, incentive only work as a motivational tool if the person put the value in the goal. If the goals are not clear, the motivation will slowly fade and person will stop chasing the goals. Other than that, incentive can be divided into two types. First type is positive incentive, which is providing positive assurance to the person if he did good or do a good job. The second type is a negative incentive, which is a negative feedback that received to the person of result doing something badly.
Definition of forgetting.
Forgetting is defined as a loss of information from long-term memory. As we can see, memory is very fragile and forgetting can be very frustrating. sometimes memory loss happens before we even store it. It is a spontaneous process which all memories can't be recalled from the memory storage.
Ways to improve memory among students.
There are 3 ways to improve memory among students. First, focus your attention. One of the most important components in a memory is attention. In order an information to be stored in a long period of time, it must transform from short memory into long-term memory. Once information is stored in long-term memory, it can be recalled once needed. It is important for a student to have a good attention because it's the first step to learning process. Attention allows students to focus on information in order to create memories. In addition, attention also allows students to focus on completing the task. Next is elaborate and rehearse. In order for an information to be recalled, we need to encode it first in our long-term memory storage. One of the most effective ways to encode information is by elaborative rehearsal. What is elaborative rehearsal? It is a process where we expand the information we collected and repeat the action until the information is firm in our memory storage. By doing so, the information is much easier to be recalled, and it is vital for a student to practice this technique in order for them to score well in study and exam. Lastly is visualize concept. Often, we learn by listening or looking at a blank whiteboard while the lecturers are teaching. It is kind of hard to recall back what the lesson was about, but there are much easier ways to improve our memory. It is by visualizing concept. This concept become very handy to students as they can try to visualize and translate back to a card, a notes, or even a handbook. Pay attention during lectures and try to recreate the notes on your own. Students can also use several techniques such as mind mapping, charts, and figures using highlighters or colorful pencil. By introducing colors, it will help boosting the memory, and recall will be much easier for the student. Alright guys, so we are done for today. Thank you so much for watching and hope to see you soon. Okay guys, so we are done for today. Thank you so much for watching my video, and hopefully that we will meet again soon. Stay safe everyone, take care, and Assalamualaikum. Bye.